I don't know if do you remember the night that I got the van stuck in the retention pond?
Yes.
And people were wondering why I had a 15-passenger van in a retention pond. But it was what, I'm with middle school boys, and I was not married, and I think I was under 25, so my brain was still developing.
Right. And, we'll use that.
So, I was driving a van in the retention pond.
In the church parking lot. Or church property.
So, right. It wasn't like a random, retention pond. But I do remember that Jeremy Granger had to bring his truck and pull us out. So, and the question was, why? Why were you in a retention pond? Listen, the guys loved it.
Yeah. Because the guys loved it.
Absolutely.
It was worth the reprimand.
Yes. And, I don't think I got overly reprimanded, but it was like, whatever.
Today's youth need teachers, volunteers, and most of all, well, they need you. I'm Doug Edwards, and I'm going to be talking with real youth mentors and students to give you the knowledge you need to be the best youth worker possible. This is Youth Worker on Fire.
Oh, you're trying to bring me down and run me out of town. You're taking what you want, but you can't take my rhythm now. I'm walking to my own beat, just gonna be me. I'm not replicating nobody.
Hey, Youth Worker on Fire, this is Doug Edwards, and glad to have you here with us today. And I'm with my friend Chad Brewster, and Chad was one of my volunteers for many, many years. For him, it seemed like 100. For me, it was much shorter.
It was definitely seemed like 100.
Yes, it did. And listen, I wore my volunteers out. There's no doubt. And they lasted much longer than most people's volunteers. They knew that it was going to be a tough road because I told them it was going to be a tough road.
You commanded commitment. And so,
yeah.
Not commanded, but you required commitment. And it was not a typical, hey, we'll go on this retreat. It was this retreat and that retreat, and you're running, weekly meetings, and it was, but you treated us like what you called us, associate staff. So
yeah, I treated you like you're paid staff.
Well, you paid us with lunch.
Paid you with lunch.
We were cheap help.
Once a week.
Yeah.
And sometimes eventually the church tried to pay for most of your trips and everything too.
Oh, they did end up most. I don't think
which
I
is
paid
unusual.
For any, yeah. But it was, it was worth, I think, it was worth it. So,
yeah. And when I say that is a minor cost for us, considering you guys were leaving your jobs for periods of time on different things.
Mm-hmm.
And so I never considered that payment. I considered that we were fortunate.
Yeah. Well, retreats, you paid 100%. But we did invest some of our own, finances. I guess
yes.
some people, but especially like missions trips, we paid for that as well. So.
Oh yeah. Yeah. There was no doubt that you volunteers and some more than others. Chad, you were one of those. You were over and above, quite a few of the staff, but none that
over and above a typical youth worker, but not over and above what we had at Trinity was above and beyond anything. And so it was, but I wasn't doing anything more than anybody else because we all were chipped in.
Yeah. Yeah. You guys did. But I was always amazed at your commitment and appreciated it. And the staff did too. Listen, what Chad's got right now, though, he's got 3 kids of his own. He married Julie and met Julie, and the staff, when he met Julie, and I'm going to let him finish those stories and stuff, they loved Chad, but they knew we all knew each other's quirks and things. And so they were making sure Julie was going to be okay. The girls did, not us guys.
Well, I think I was the first one of that. No, Serena got married first, but but then after that it was like I was the first. Well, they all knew because
first guy.
Yes. Well, they also knew me, which, they wanted to make sure Julie was going to be okay because
Julie was more than okay.
I'm an acquired taste.
And Julie was up for the task.
Oh, she definitely, I was not looking for someone as a pushover as a wife, and she's no pushover.
She is no pushover. If you knew Chad, I tell you what, I attracted some amazing people, and it was a God thing. There was no doubt about that. But he's got three children. I want to make sure I stay on some of that because we're going to go back to it and revisit that. But Chad came in and he married Julie, and now he's got 3 kids, Andrew and Rebecca, which they call Becca because it's the ABCs of their family.
Julie's
and
a
Caleb.
teacher.
And what's that? Yeah, Julie's a teacher.
So ABCs. That's not. We didn't plan it that way. It just happened that way.
Yeah, because Rebecca's really her name. Yeah. So, but that was 1, 2, 3 ABC, and so they're pretty well, middle school down now.
Yes,
and which is quite an interesting place to be since Chad came into the program, and we talked about that. And I observed people for a while usually, and he was in our college group, and I asked him to go and help me drive and stuff on a big college trip, one of our first trips to Colorado.
Yeah, which I have, you didn't know I had like 4 months of snow driving experience, but you knew that I had my license and drove in upstate New York in the snow.
Yeah.
And you just needed a snow driver. You must have been pretty desperate.
Well, at that time, right, we did not.
You were desperate because you gave me 2 days notice.
That's right, I was. And I try not to get desperate. Desperate is not a good place to be. But in Chad's case, that really worked out and paid a lot of dividends from there all the way through the years of middle school ministry. Plus, he was involved in the college and career ministry. And local guy, by the way, from the Leesburg area.
Yeah, I was living in Wearsdale at the time, but I mean, it was a half hour away.
Right.
But,
and all of you nationwide, worldwide, know where Wearsdale is.
Yes, absolutely. Well, if you've heard of the Villages, it's just outside of the Villages in Florida.
Right. And you had no idea that we're that close to the Villages. And if you know anything about retirement communities, it's the most famous nationwide Mecca. And probably worldwide.
It is a retirement Mecca.
It is a massive place. All of this is near Orlando, and Walt Disney, of course, thought of us when he was alive in California and thought, Wearsdale needs to be on the map.
No, I doubt that.
Wearsdale's a little bit out there. I mean, we're out there in Lake County, but yet we're only 20 minutes from the border of Orlando.
Yes.
And then Wearsdale's just a little bit farther out. But all of this is Mickey World. If you're in Central Florida,
yes,
you're in Mickey Mouse World. And so all those good things, and those are good elements to have in the background. But here you are, you got your family now, but then you were single. You were a part of that group. Julie was nowhere to be found.
No.
You had been in a wedding with her sister.
Yeah, a buddy of mine married her sister. I was actually in that wedding. And
that was years before.
Yeah, definitely years before. And so then there was, my brother-in-law at the time was... said, "Hey, you need to talk to my sister-in-law." I'm like, "Okay, why?" And he's like, "Oh, because I told her you'd call her." I'm like, why? Why would you do that? And so, I mean, it's funny because my wife will tell you at the time that my brother-in-law told her, "Hey, I gave a friend of mine your number." And she specifically said, "Hey, I don't want any of your loser friends calling me." And she'll tell you that. She'll tell you that. And so he was smart enough not to give her the number of his loser friends. He gave him my number, or gave me her number. So I called her, and she thought that I sounded normal. And what normal is, I do not know. But sure. So we started talking on the phone, and that was we talked on the phone for 2 months before our first date. Yeah. I had 2 dates lined up, and everybody in the youth, all the staff knew that I was in trouble.
Yeah.
So when they did meet her, they definitely, surrounded her and made sure that she was well aware of what she was getting into.
Yeah, and we all love Julie. I mean, Julie's quite a person, been in ministry before herself.
Oh, yeah. And actually, when we got married, we took a little break, but got right back into Tuesday nights, and we taught Sunday school together for the middle school.
Yeah. And she became a high school teacher.
She was a high school teacher when I married her.
Okay.
Yeah.
So. Still was. Because I remember when she moved into Mount Dora High School,
mm-hmm.
and went over to her classroom several times. let's go back to your entrance into life, and that is when you were a middle schooler or teenager. It doesn't have to be middle schooler.
Because I wasn't alive in elementary school. It was just middle school when I entered life.
You were born and went straight in. By the way, Chad is what? Were you 6'5"? You 6'5"?
6'3".
6'3".
So, yeah.
He looks 6'5" at 6'3". And I always had bodyguards. I used to be 6'7". No, that's a lie. Not at all. I'm 5'5", even on a good day, and I'm holding. No matter what happens, I'm holding. And so I had several big guys as my staffers. I don't know how I attracted you guys. I guess y'all saw the desperation, the need of a short guy needing bodyguards.
I don't think it had anything to do with your height. You just were. I mean, the program that you had going on was just amazing at the time. So
we were fortunate, and I was fortunate for Youth for Christ doing a lot of that training for those 6 years I was with them. You all got the benefit of those men and women that poured their lives into me. That was for sure. But several really tall guys, you and Rick Hirsch and Brad Whiteman at one time, Eric Faree, and just amazing ladies that were with us. And Serena and Nicole ended up there in that program. Karen Milkey was there for a while. But tell me the person that had the most influence on your life as a teenager.
Yeah, I mean, Thad Blunt was my he was the youth pastor at my church when I was in high school. So we had a couple of different, as every church does. You had a couple of different youth pastors during your time it was junior high. That's how old I am. It was junior high to high school, and so we had a couple different youth pastors, but he was the one that really he was there. I can't remember what year he came, but he definitely was there junior and senior year of high school.
What was his name again?
Thad Blunt.
Thad Blunt.
Yep. He was my buddy. We did all kinds of fun, adventurous things together, and he had a group of us that was probably, I think there were 6 or 8 of us that really were part of the discipleship for his youth at that time, and we did a lot of fun things together. And he would be the biggest influence as far as my spiritual life at that time. So,
is there anyone in the school system as well? Or
oh yeah, my coach, my basketball coach.
What was his name?
Steve Burkhart. Yeah, he definitely. He was tough. He would get so mad at me because I'd make mistakes playing, during practice and stuff like that, and I would be telling him I know what I made, the mistake that I made, and he's like, "Well, if you know what you did wrong, why'd you do it?" And so, but no, he definitely was from a sport, because in high school, basketball was life. I mean, that's all I cared about. School, I had to go to school to play basketball.
Right.
And I played soccer or practiced a lot of soccer to get in shape for basketball. So that was it. And he was my high school basketball coach. So,
coaches mean a lot to us, and so do youth workers. If you're fortunate to have a youth program that you're in. So let's go to your worst moment in your teenage years. People relate better with our worst moments than they do our best moments, because all of us have worst moments.
Yeah, but it's not like I don't know if I just, I don't think typically of the things like my worst. You ask me that, and I'm like, I don't know that I could have this worst moment. I guess to me, if you want to say the worst moment in my teenage is I was 18 and my grandfather died. So, but he had been in a nursing home. We had known, we had actually moved here to Florida. So I had got to see him before I moved down. And then I hadn't seen him for roughly 4 to 6 months before he died. But, he had a big influence on my life too, but in a different way, because he was my grandfather. So if, you have to have a worst moment, that, lose my grandfather sucked. So
yeah, and at that age, it hurts more than most, because adolescence. How old were you again?
18.
You're 18, and so we're still in the growth pattern. So we're 25 as men on the average in adolescence. it's 11 to 25, women 11 to 22. I say that 100 times, 1,000 times.
Yeah.
So those things do impact us. They are major. They are events in our life. So what is your best moment?
Graduation, getting out of school.
Because
I got out of school. I went to college, but I was graduating, and then I knew my senior year that our family was going to move to Florida and get out of upstate New York, where it was cold, beautiful but cold.
What part of upstate again?
Green, New York, a little town called Green, New York.
Yeah, my wife's from Oswego, so is that near there? Is that far away?
About 45 minutes to an hour away.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
Green is a little town of about 3,000 people, about an hour and a half southwest of Syracuse.
Okay. Yeah.
So, graduation, getting out of the cold, knew I was coming here. I didn't even apply for any colleges my senior year because I knew I was coming down to Central Florida, and I was going to, go to college at the time it was Central Florida Community College. So, and I was going to be a landscape architect. So,
which you did for a while.
No.
Never got to do that at all.
No, I never became an architect. I went to my counselor when I was signing up for my first classes, and he said, you need this much math just to become an architect. Basically, a landscape architect is an architect that has landscape and horticulture knowledge of plants. And my math skills are that of, an elementary school student. So not that bad, but, I build houses, so it is a little bit better than that. But
Right. Well, you do more than build houses. You're superintendent of crews, right?
Yeah.
And big crews in the Orlando area.
Well, yeah, I'm a director of construction for a shell contractor in Central Florida for custom homes and commercial jobs, so special projects for our company.
Well, let's go into ministry for a while here. Let's talk about that. And that is worst moment in student ministry. I don't like to dwell on the negative. Oh, you do. Come on. Every single person that's been in behind this mic that was in your middle school ministry has talked about the incident of me leaving 2 adult women and 3 or 4 middle school girls in the Universal parking lot at 1:00 in the morning. So that was. What was the event? What was the event?
Well, the event was, I believe it was Rock the Universe, right?
Yes.
So we went we took everybody to Rock the Universe.
Studios, right?
Yes. And so we were coming back, and the girls had gone. They were in my vehicle, but they had gone to. They had followed they had followed Rick Hirsch, and so they went to Rick Hirsch, and I had gotten back to the van. I was waiting, and so I heard that they were with Rick, so I left.
You thought, okay, they're going to ride with Rick.
I was ticked, so it was, and I wasn't very mature. So when I get tired, it is not my best moment ever.
And listen, guys, we were tired. Every time we do this event, the middle school staff, this is unusual. A lot of you guys, you let your kids run around. I get it in student ministry, but in middle school, I don't trust it. High school, they get to run around. Staff gets to meet them up in different places. But in middle school, our guys were tied to our students. We did whatever the students wanted to do within reason. We tried to.
Yes.
But it wore you out.
Oh, man. And again, when I get tired, my brain shuts off. I'm stupid. So
most of us do.
Yeah. Well, So anyway, I left them there. We talked. They called and said, "Hey, we're here with Rick." So Rick had a truck. For crying out loud, pile in the back of the truck and come down. So I
don't do that.
No, don't
do it. But at that time, maybe that's something that you could have done. But you were tired.
I was tired, selfish, and I was wrong. So yes, that would be my worst moment, and I don't need to elaborate any more about They
No.
were really mad that night.
And let me tell you what, the girls were not even going to bring that up. I don't think they were. I think I coaxed them.
They've
because
forgiven me, but they will never forget.
They will never forget.
No, in
and
fact-
it was a laughable moment at this point when we were
Hillary, in fact, cuts my hair and my kids' hair.
one of the middle school
She
girls.
was one of the girls that was left, and we still, I guess you can say, joke about it. Yeah, we still talk about it. So
It's funny. What was your best moment? Best moment in student ministry?
oh man, probably discipleship with the middle school boys. I just remember that there were just those Sunday nights when we would, it was usually 4 or 5 students, guys, and we would talk, and then we'd go to some fast food restaurant or something and eat, and just piling in the van. And I'm like, every time they got in the van, hey, you guys ready for an adventure? And then before we got out of the parking lot, there was always a seatbelt check and making sure everybody had their seatbelts on, and some that didn't, it was a significant seatbelt check. So, I don't know if do you remember the night that I got the van stuck in the retention pond?
Yes.
And people were wondering why I had a 15-passenger van in a retention pond, but it was I'm with middle school boys, and I was not married, and I think I was under 25, so my brain was still developing.
You're right.
And,
we'll use that.
So, I was driving a van in the retention pond around
In the church parking lot. Or
Yes,
church
church property. So,
Right.
I mean, it wasn't like a random, retention pond, but I do remember that Jeremy Granger had to bring his truck and pull us out. So, and the question was, why were you in a retention pond? Listen, the guys loved it.
Yeah.
Listen,
Because the guys
yes,
loved it.
Absolutely.
It was worth the reprimand.
Yes. And, I don't think I got overly reprimanded, but it was like, whatever, so. But
No, I forgot that. That's so good.
Yeah.
And those are discipling moments for middle schoolers. That sounds crazy. We're not telling you guys to
no,
go out.
please don't go drive in a retention pond.
And I had one of our pastors said, "Oh, it's great when you break down." He is a mechanic. It's great when you break down stuff. It's okay because it bonds people. I'm going, not on purpose.
No.
So you don't do those things on purpose. You can have plenty of times.
Hey, listen, I went in the retention pond on purpose. I didn't.
Yeah,
I
but
didn't
you didn't get stuck on
intend
purpose.
on getting
Right.
stuck. Yes. So, that wasn't on purpose.
Solid enough you could do that normally.
But also with discipleship, the boys, I mean, you're middle school, anybody that works with middle schoolers knows that you question why you work with middle schoolers almost on a weekly basis, because they challenge you.
yes.
They're a lot of times disrespectful to you, and you just like, sometimes you just want to strangle them. But during discipleship, lots of times you'll question, are they getting anything?
Yes.
And so one of those, I remember I was ready to tell you, like, I'm done with these yahoos. They are not listening. All they want to do is go out to eat. They don't care about the scriptural part of it and the praying and all that. They just want to go eat. And so, but during one of the talks one Sunday, one of them brought up something that I had said a month ago. I'm like, oh my gosh, you are listening. You do hear what I say. And they do. Now, they may not let you know it. And that might be part of their little game. I don't know, but they do hear what you're saying. So don't give up on them.
Yeah.
But
I don't think they know that they're doing all that they're doing.
no,
And
probably
I
not.
think because part of it's just that adolescent, the hormone insanity that's going on during that life. It's amazing to me that anybody in middle school ever gets anything out of any school, any church, anything.
No, but they are but as middle schoolers, they are challenging. They challenge to see, they know when they can push buttons.
Yeah. Well, they're still in that elementary crossover.
Yes. And that has always been what, like, I think of, I really feel bad for, and don't take this the wrong way, guys, but I really feel bad for high school staff because they don't get the awesomeness of working with middle schoolers and seeing like literal children, baby children, kind of elementary, coming in and scared to death. And they their 6th grade year, they're scared. Their 7th grade year, they got their feet. They're kind of, but they're not too cool for school in 8th grade. And just that transition from 6th to 8th grade it's leaps and bounds more apparent than from 9th to 12th.
Massive, quick changes.
Yes.
Massive, yes.
It's also cool because you get to develop that relationship with them that will carry through to high school and to college and
beyond.
Yeah. So there's there's a number of guys from middle school that I still will hang out with and talk to. Some of them, actually, a lot of them I call my friends.
Yes, and we discussed that. That's one thing I tried to drive into you guys is that the people that you're ministering to now, you need to think about them as people who will sign your paycheck someday, be your doctors, be your lawyers, cut your hair. I didn't say that, but here we are. Be your pastor, Brooks Braswell, my pastor, for quite a while, and he says some very kind things. And one thing he said that goes right along with what you said, and I heard about it through other people. I wasn't there that Sunday. He talked about me, which he does several times a year because he was in middle school when he came to know Jesus with me on a trip. And who knew? You don't know, even when they accept Christ, you don't know what that's going to do. You don't know how God's going to use that. And here he is, one of the largest churches in the area. But here's what he said, which to me was a big compliment, even though I wish I was a better speaker. And he said, I don't remember one sermon or talk that Doug gave, but I remember that he showed up everywhere.
Yeah.
But they do remember what you said because you were in those intimate discipleship things, but you also showed up.
If they still remember, I'm sorry, I don't remember what I said. So
you can always deny. There was no recordings of it.
I'm getting old enough that those memories are gone.
Really? No, I think that was your other volunteer.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Retreats, though. We had some great,
oh my goodness,
Gatlinburg retreats with those students. Do you remember any great moments on those retreats?
Well, yeah. They were more great for me or fun for me.
Yes.
Because I was more, I don't want to say militant. I wasn't militant. I was probably.
You were rough and tumble.
I was probably the hardest, strictest, let's put it that way, staffer as far as for the boys. And it almost was a joy for me.
By the way, he was tough on them, and the students, the boys loved it. They looked for him every week. And we talked about they tried to tackle you every week. Once again, tall guy, muscular guy.
Well,
and here we are with these guys, and they are like 6 or 7 trying to take him down.
There was their goal to. If in middle school you are trying to test and check your who you can take down, things like that. And so they had no problems trying to attack me and try to see if they could get me down. So, but specifically one of the ones I remember, and I can't remember if it was Ryan or Chris, but one of your poor boys.
I think it was Chris.
Your poor boys. So
some of my sons.
When we went,
he was their staffer.
When we went to Gatlinburg, it always seemed to fall on the cheerleading weekend. Remember down at the conference?
Yes.
So there were always middle school and high school cheerleading girls at the hotel that we stayed at, which had an indoor pool.
Gatlinburg was a big, massive convention place.
Yes.
And so cheerleading conference, all the hotels were full of them. We always booked a year in advance ourselves, so we didn't know when it was going to fall there. But it did.
And it's not like you did it on purpose,
Happened
but it
several
was
times.
But the boys, the boys loved it, right?
Oh yeah.
So a little, I'm like, okay, this is not happening. Those boys. I said, so when any girl is in the pool area, you have to go to the hot tub area. And if there's a girl in a hot tub area, you have to go to the pool area. And if they're in both, then you have to come over here and sit by me. And so at first the girls didn't pick up on it. And then they were noticing that they would come over and sit in the hot tub, and I'd snap my fingers and I'd point to the pool, and they just would get out of the hot tub and they'd go into the pool. And the girls were like, what the heck is going on? And then the girls would get out of the hot tub and they'd go in the pool.
Because they'd be flirting with the boys.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'd snap my fingers and point to and they would, it was just, it was fun for me. But I mean, those, the poor students, they hated that I was their staffer for that weekend.
Or at least on those points.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. No, but, you had the polar bear experience with us many times.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that didn't,
Let's talk polar bear.
Polar bear, that was freezing cold water, and, it's what it is. A polar bear would go in cold water, and in Tennessee, 30 to 50 degree water. It was probably 30s, right?
Yeah. I mean, sometimes there was snow on the ground.
Yeah.
We get there. It's always winter when we went.
And again, I mean, as
January, February.
As a male staff, I think in the beginning you used to require that if one of your students went in, the staffer had to go in.
Well, middle school, we kept it that way. Yeah.
Right. So, of course, I would always have a student. And then later on, you didn't do that, because I remember that I didn't have, because Rick would go in. Rick was always good for going in.
Right. I had to have at least one staff. And usually I'd have 2 or 3 staffers that would do it. And I used to do it, but my wife, after years, finally convinced me not to do it anymore. But I think I did 30 years of polar bears.
It was, and it was crazy. I mean, I think we had to, finding the place to do it where it was fairly safe was usually the hardest part.
Yeah.
Because, you got in some years there was ice, like where you had to, find a place that was broken open where there wasn't, but there was always, we were always either doing it in a creek behind the hotel, or
they'd end up to their thighs. They had to get up to their thighs at least.
Well, then some crazy, I mean, they're middle schoolers. They would, put their head underwater, and we're like, oh, no, don't do that,
Some of them would lay down in the water. They were just so tough. 2 of those were girls.
Oh, yeah.
I think I had 1 or 2 guys over the years. And I remember the first years, my feet were blue.
Oh, yeah. And you get out, and, of course, it burns, you're tingling because it's so cold. Yeah.
But it was all, we never made them. It was always a challenge. Yeah. We even told their parents, we'll do this. If you don't want them to, tell them they can't do it.
Yeah.
But it was like a real badge of courage.
Yes. Yeah.
To come away and to tell people you were a polar bear. Right.
I was much more courageous early on than later.
Yeah.
So.
And eventually, occasionally we'd find snow at the top. Once again, you're talking about Florida kids, guys. And if I was up north with students, we'd have brought them to Florida. Because we're in Florida, we took them to the cold, we took them to the mountains.
Well, I believe at some point, I mean, we had to quit calling it the sled retreat, because if we didn't find snow, then parents were, you called it the sled retreat, you were going, and it's like, listen,
we got called out on it one year.
Oh, yeah. And so it's like, okay, we're just going to call it the winter retreat, and we're going to go and try and find snow.
Right.
So, and, the early days were, when we were busing, going up and on top of the mountain sleeping, we wake up on top of Newfound Gap,
which is a mile high.
Yeah. And, that's, if there was going to be snow, that's where it was going to be. And so.
Yeah. And we had to have people dig us out. I think that was before you got there. There was one time the forest ranger and a scraper, because these are windy roads all the way to the top. And you can come up from the North Carolina side, but we were going to the Tennessee side. So we came up through North Carolina, got up there, blizzarded on us. Is that a word, blizzarded?
I don't know.
It is
Sounds
now.
good, yeah.
So, and you weren't with us that year, but they literally had to come up there. They chewed the bus driver out. But we had some great bus drivers that were professional drivers, and they had to bring a salt truck, a scraper, and a forest ranger.
Yeah,
and those guys were not happy.
No, because wasn't the road closed down on the other side?
It's closed on the other side, right?
So, yeah.
We didn't come up on that side. But
stuck in the back.
Yeah. So great retreat, middle school retreat. And, not many people were doing anything that adventurous around the area.
Not for middle schoolers.
No.
Oh, and then nobody that I knew of was taking middle schoolers out of country.
Yeah.
In our Texas, or not our Texas, but our
Mexico
Mexico.
border. Yeah, Texas, Mexico.
Yep.
Yeah.
I remember, in fact, that's another one of the trips. We went to Mexico. You had actually sent me down a week or two ahead of time. I can't remember. You couldn't go for the pre-trip
training.
Yeah.
Yeah, they required it.
I went and got to hang. I can't even remember his name, but
Jimmy Rivera
I got
or
to hang
Maury
out with
Buchanan.
Jimmy. No,
Yeah.
I got to hang out with Jimmy. Just going down there and seeing where we were going to be building houses, and that was actually the one time, because I didn't go the second time because I got married.
That's right.
I talked Evan into going on that trip.
Yes, you did.
And I knew that I was going to propose to my wife, and he thought I was going with him, and I ditched him to get married. So
he was not happy.
He
I
wasn't.
remember
I'm sorry.
that.
I apologize.
He did a great job on that trip, but he was, yeah.
But so anyway, the trip before that, because you were on a three-year cycle.
Yeah.
The trip before that, Kevin Wilkins was on that.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember, we had some downtime, and we were like, what do you want to do? And we had our own vehicles because we were driving back and forth across the border every day. And so Rick, I don't know if Rick had bought basketballs and nets, but we drove by an elementary school and saw that they didn't have any nets on their hoops. And so we had bought some nets, and we were putting nets up, and I had Kevin on my shoulders, and he was putting up the net. And just spending the time with these little Mexican children was, they just loved that they had nets and they had balls. I think volley. We just took all kinds of crazy stuff for them, and it was just awesome to spend. These strange Americans popped up, and when these elementary kids came out for their recess time or lunch or whatever, I don't know what it was, but they just, we got to hang out with them, so that was awesome.
Yeah, it was very, very awesome. And you guys, Rick Hirsch as well, and we'll interview Rick sometime. But you and he were together. Kevin Wilkins on that particular trip. Kevin, I couldn't get him to get. I wanted Kevin to be on every trip I could get him on.
Well, because he was a nurse, right?
He
had
was a
medical,
nurse, and he was a medic.
Well, he was awesome. Yeah,
he was beyond awesome. Yeah, he was, and he was a medic. He's the only guy I knew that had been in the Air Force, Army, I think Navy, and Marines. He was in the Marines last.
He was,
and his wife, in fact, is one of the ones who heads up trying to get benefits for people who are affected by the burn pits. Friendly fire, in our case, it's not really what it's called, but they're supposed to have had incinerators. And so Kevin later died of a brain tumor that came from those burn pits on the bases in Iraq.
Yep.
We had no idea that the guy was a hero over and over again until his funeral.
Right.
His family didn't know either. But Kevin on those trips were just, and the reason anytime we could find a medic or a doctor or a nurse or someone like that would go with us, we made sure we paid their way to get them there. We wanted them to be on our team. And I don't know that I had Kevin more than once, but thanks for bringing him up.
No, that trip, I definitely, I just remember, getting him on my shoulders to, because they didn't have any ladders or anything, and they actually were, I think 10-foot goals. So, but that was, just a fun memory I had.
It was a great memory, and thanks for bringing that up. Tell them how we built those houses.
By hand.
Because listen, it's not happening now. The cartels, my poor daughter, Holly, my wonderful daughter, Holly, missed several mission trips. The year she was going to Mexico, she had seen her brothers do it and saw you guys go, and they shut down the border. And here's how you know if a place is not safe to go. Missionaries will say, "Oh, come on, it's okay," because they're cowboys. They're cowboys, we call them. And then the government says, "No place is safe. Don't go anywhere."
Right.
And then student missions people understand liability. They understand who you're ministering to and all that. When they say don't go, it's a no go.
Yeah.
And we stopped, and they stopped, and she ended up in the Appalachians, doing poverty work there. She says, Dad, it doesn't look like poverty compared to what.
Yeah.
I said, I know, but this is what God has let us to do. And she missed Africa too. 3 times we attempted Africa, but she missed that. And so no one's doing border town stuff now because of cartel issues and all of that. Tell us about what that was like.
No, but Mission Discovery, I mean, they made sure and they worked out the logistics of getting all the lumber. I mean, it was all pre-cut. It was pretty much a puzzle you just put together. But I mean, you did have to hammer nails, you did have to set up block and all that. And so, but it literally was like I want to say a 16 by, it might have even been an 8 by 16. I think it was only 8 by, it was 2 sheets wide and 2 sheets long of plywood. So 8 by 16. That's where the whole family stayed. And then you built the walls and put the roof on and painted it. And the paint was like a whitewash. It was like cheap paint, but it protected the wood. And, the students, if they had not learned what a bagnio was, they certainly discovered what a bagnio was because, they didn't have portalets sitting out there waiting for you,
Right.
Which
right.
a portalet's not much better than a bagnio.
No,
it's just
wasn't.
portable.
That's right.
But anyway, but that was also the mission trip that I believe that I think we might have gotten in a little bit of trouble. I'm not sure if it was with the camp or if it was with you because we had a little war going on with the girls. And you don't remember when we?
No.
Oh man, we shook up a bunch of shaving cream bottles and poked holes in them and threw them in the girls' cabin.
I probably had to get on y'all.
Amanda was not happy about that.
Oh, Amanda was with us that trip. Amanda Hitchcock, who is now Amanda Stevens, with crew, with Larry Stevens. Both of their episodes are earlier. You need to listen to them.
Oh, yeah.
But that was a significant trip before she knew she was in love. No, she hadn't even gone to crew yet, so she had not met Larry, her future husband. But she was getting ready to go with Campus Crusade, which is now crew, when she was with us on that trip. And I remember her looking in the bagnio before we go back to the shaving cream, looking in the bagnio, and she went, I think there's things moving in there.
Probably was.
Yeah, there probably was.
Anyway, but that, just things like that, the mission trips, the trips that, all of that stuff is just, those are experiences and opportunities that I believe all those students will carry for a lifetime.
Oh, yes. And that's why we did it. Because if you can imagine, your students, and there's other places in the United States, and by the way, they still go to Swaziland, I guess, since the pandemic is primarily over. But Swaziland in Africa is a place, it's safer to go there than it is in Mexico, with Mission Discovery, and they do other places throughout the world and throughout the United States to Native American reservations, South Dakota, all kinds of places, Appalachian Mountains, et cetera. The border towns, when we could do that, was just an incredibly unique experience. You went from America to Mexico, from prosperity to poverty, extreme poverty every day. Then as a middle schooler, you build a home from beginning to ending, whether you did it well or not.
Yep.
Contractors like Chad and Rick were on there and to help, but they swung those hammers, they painted those places, they put roofing on, they moved their families in, they prayed for them. Could you imagine the impact of every middle school worldwide if you were to take them on missions like that, and what it would do to their ability to think bigger than themselves?
Oh, yeah.
And they would see 5 and 6 to 8 other homes being built by other middle schoolers from other churches at the same time.
I'll tell you, even for me, like, it frustrated my wife a little bit because, we lived in a smaller house. We just moved into a bigger house because we had no children when we got married.
Right.
And when you have 3 children in a smaller house, it gets tight. but I continually, and I think it's because I hate moving, but I used the comment, sweetheart, more than 90% of the world lives in something the size of our garage. And so that only went over well for about once, and but it didn't keep me from using it. But in reality, that's true. I mean, in fact, our garage was bigger than the houses that we were building in.
Yes.
So, but and drier, and that even still has impacted me.
Yes, it did. And it did impact staff as much as it did the students, because most adults have not gone to those conditions and been a part of those things. And I remember when I was in another nation with some high schoolers, one-time high school and college, and I remember the pain being so great of seeing the poverty. And I would have to pray, God, if you want me to become a full-time missionary, then keep the pain, because I can't bear this. I might have to stay, and then, but if not, then take away the pain. And he did. He took away the pain so I could take other staff and students to those things for years.
Well, the one thing, when I told you that I went for the training, the trip training with Jimmy, we went to, it wasn't the exact area, but we went to the dump, to where they had built houses before, but the smell, I still remember how bad the smell was, and people were living there.
Babies were being born there.
It just, I mean, think about, you drive by a dump and how bad it smells. Try living in a dump. So, we got it pretty good.
Yeah, we do. I mean, we see what's going on in Europe now with Russia and the Ukraine, and just it's distant.
Yes. Yeah.
But it's not. Our world is small. So, anything else that you want to tell us about tell us what your kids are doing right now, by the way.
My kids are awesome. My oldest, Andrew, is playing baseball right now. So, like his father, I think he's the greatest baseball player ever.
Absolutely.
But you can't tell him that, because he is my child. So he has a little bit of, let's say he has no lack of
ego.
No, I wouldn't. Yeah, a little ego. Yeah. So he doesn't lack confidence. Rebecca is,
and how old is he, by the way?
He's 12.
12. Perfect.
So Rebecca is, she's 10, about to turn 11 in August, and she is, she's doing, baton and twirling, and I always give her a hard time. I was like, Becca, because she was twirling, they light the ends of the batons on fire. And I'm the most, I don't get overly excited about stuff, like that. But I'm like, oh, Becca, that is so unsafe. You could hurt. You are spinning fire, and it's between your legs and around your head. You could burn yourself. And she's just, my children, when I say things, they know that half of what I say is just baloney. So they are very, when someone tries to joke with them about something, they're primed. They don't even they're
flinch. Ready for the comments.
Yeah, they don't even. And then Caleb, my youngest, is 7. He'll be 8 in November, and he is a mirror image of me.
Yeah.
The poor kid. So he'll do okay. Till he gets, older. But, and he is, he plays basketball and soccer. And so they're just very active. They love swimming and just being outdoors and indoors playing games. And, they're all Minecraft world. They're, my Minecraft world. Okay. That's awesome. I'm building this in my world. Oh, cool.
So they're very virtual.
Oh, they're virtual. So,
yeah.
But, yeah. So, and then Julie is, she's homeschooling. So we decided to homeschool our children through the middle school years. And so Andrew just finished 6th grade homeschool, and Becca just graduated or promoted from 5th grade into homeschool. So we're going to do that. And then when Caleb gets there, we'll homeschool him. But Julie loves it. So
Yeah.
everything's better than I deserve, man, for sure. I kind of, and I still haven't heard, but I know that Ryan made a song about me getting married.
Yes,
I think he
did.
even sent it to me, but
He did.
I do not remember. I can't find it.
I think Chris actually chimed in on that one. I think he sings it with him or something.
I don't know. But
I don't remember.
But
if they both did or
I
whatever.
got married, guys. So, and I've got 3 kids, and you can pray for them because I am not a whole lot different than I was when I was a youth staffer in middle school. But I think being married has changed and softened me a little bit.
Oh yeah, it has. Those of us who know you, we can see it.
But I'm not the most emotional person. So you can pray for my kids because apparently I don't have much empathy.
Well, I got a feeling they're going to be just fine because they come from you as well as your wife, and both of you are very tough and smart individuals. So you've got 3 tough and smart children from what I've seen and from what you're telling me here. And so not only will they survive you, they will thrive because of you, and
They'll thrive
they will
because
challenge
of Julie.
you. We probably need to pray for you and Julie more than them.
Oh no, all the good stuff they got, it comes from their mother. So
Yeah, well, that's a good answer.
That's it's the truth. So about the only thing I think I gave them is I don't even know. Just Caleb definitely his size. Andrew looks just like Julie. So
Yeah,
but they're all fairly healthy. So I got pretty good healthy genes.
yeah, yeah.
But so
Health
does
is a lot of
Julie,
it. Your 3 children are mentally good and emotionally strong because you guys are strong. You've taught them even by just example.
Oh man, they hear and pick up way more than I expect them to.
Or want them to.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, if you were to tell volunteers anything to help them go beyond a year, the average volunteer only lasts a year. What would you tell them to help them go farther?
Well, I mean, farther than a year? Goodness, you're just getting started. It takes that long. First of all, students need to know that you care. So that's, with most of them, that's a time, it takes time. And again, if you give up, say in somebody's 6th grade year or their 8th grade year, whatever, if you give up, you miss all of that growth over the next 2 or 3 years, and then seeing it duplicated with the next group of students that come through. I mean, again, it's all based on the amount of time that you have. So I don't know. And again, I had a lot more time because I was single for all of my 20s. But just don't give up, and all they really care about is that you love them, and you just need to point them to Christ.
And what about breaks? Do they need to take breaks here and there? Did you take some? Did I allow you guys any breaks?
During different circumstances, like when Serena got married, she took a break for a little while. I mean, during circumstances like that, yes. And again, I mean, even if there could come a point where, okay, you have a major life change like marriage, or you have, something happen that's traumatic in your life. Yes, that, you're not giving up. And if you need a break, take a break. But don't if you care, first of all, if you care enough to be a volunteer, a youth volunteer, then something in you makes you want to hang out with the kids, and you love them, or at least think you do. Maybe you discover that you don't and you shouldn't be with it. But
That's true too.
if there's anything in you that makes you want to be a youth worker, then don't quit. You're missing out. I mean, the students will obviously miss out on what you have to show them, but you miss out on so much.
Yeah, it's it goes across the board. Not only are they needing the longevity, you're needing the longevity to see was what I did worth anything, and you don't know that. You don't see that from a distance.
I never would have thought. I mean, even Ryan in his interview saying that I was his guy.
Yes,
I don't think I knew I was his guy at the time.
That's right. Yeah, and you don't know some things until you hear them.
Right.
And that's that. I'm so glad that we did that interview so that you could hear that.
Yeah.
And right, they don't always talk. They seldom talk. If you get one or two people telling you that somewhere in your life, then you're very fortunate. Even though the average person, according to whoever came up with that stat, influences 10,000 people in their lifetime. Anyone who's volunteered with students are far beyond average. That means it's got to be 30, 40, 50,000, maybe 100,000 people that you're influencing because of the people that you've spent time with, because you're not average, way above average. So for whatever that carries, I realize this too about my parents. With anyone that supported Dottie Freeman has passed away now. She's gone. Several people, Steve Trush, those guys will reap, my parents, they'll reap the rewards of whatever ministry I've had because they supported that ministry.
Yeah.
And it just dawned on me one day, I think the Lord showed me, this is not just you that's getting credit here. It takes, they talk about a village. Well, it definitely takes a team. And I'm interviewing Justin Cox Tuesday night.
Okay.
And Justin was at Steve Trush's funeral and stood up and said, "Sorry, Doug, I came to the student ministry because of Steve, not because of you." And afterwards, I talked to him. I said, "That's right."
Yeah.
I said that I'm not upset about that at all. I always told you guys, you are their pastors.
Yeah.
If you are spending more time with them than me, and we designed it that way, one of us can only influence up at the most 10 people at a time, and that's really stretching it. And so every staff or volunteer that you come on that's good, that sees the effect, is going to affect 10 more.
Yeah.
And those 10 are going to keep multiplying.
At the time, it was, it's a scary thought to think that you are affecting somebody and that you could, because as much as you can positively affect them, you can negatively affect them as well. So,
yes.
So I was not unaware of that, but that didn't seem to change how I acted. So,
no, and you can't be aware of it. That's like being a soldier in a battle and the bombs are bursting all around you, and you've gone through training that is reactive training. Because otherwise, all you are is scared spitless, but if it wasn't for the training that made you react, then you wouldn't be fighting the battle. And when you're in student ministry, you're in spiritual warfare, you're in emotional warfare, physical warfare, mental warfare, but especially you're in spiritual warfare. You have to and you don't have to realize it, but sometimes looking out after each meeting or whatever, that may be the only way you survive to go to the next meeting, is realizing, okay, wait a minute, this is a battle, this is a war, that battle is over, I get a chance to fight again.
Oh, some of them seemed like battles.
Yes, they did.
But there were lots that were, it was just incredible, week after week, just how many students would come. There was, in the prime of everything, I want to say we had like 70 middle school students. We did coming
consistently. We never.
Yes.
In fact, the only thing I kept going, how do we do this? We're not doing anything any different except that we kept doing it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only thing I could say, is we kept doing it year after year after year, and you volunteers are still there.
And that was probably, that was probably the most consistent group of volunteers I think you had.
Oh yeah.
I mean, like you had your high school was they were
consistent too.
It was a very stable time in your ministry.
It really was. And that was about 10 to 15 years
yeah.
of stability. Remember, I was there 29, but there was a solid 15 years that we were just going, Lord, this is just you.
Yeah.
This is just you. This is just the benefits of longevity because spiritual war.
Yep.
And we had some fun and interesting times. Anything that people don't know about you that you think is just a fun fact about you or you and your family or anything that's ever happened in your life?
No, there's no fun facts about me at all.
There's lots of fun facts about you, but I'm not going to tell them.
None that I'm going to share, I think.
Exactly. Okay. But listen, this has been amazing, and people are going to learn a lot from this. If you're a volunteer and you're listening, let me tell you what, my guys were as tough and ladies were as tough as they come. Tougher than me. I always told them, and they laughed at this, and I thought, why was I not sarcastic more? But anyway, I would say, you know what? I am paid to be good, and you guys are good for nothing. And they would, just like Chad laughed, they would laugh, and I'm going, oh my gosh, I just cut them down. I don't even know where I learned that from.
That was the 2 or 3 things that actually was funny that he said.
There were not many. I thought it was funny all the time.
Yes.
But they did not. So neither does my family. So, but now I tell everybody, not only are y'all, good for nothing, but so am I now. I'm good for nothing now. So
you're great.
No, I mean, if I'm good, then nobody's paying me to be good anymore. So, but anyway, appreciate it. All right,
thanks, man.
Youth Worker Nation, thank you, Chad, coming over on finding a way to make this happen. It's been a long time. We've been trying to make this happen for a couple of years. Chad, tell Julie hello. Hug the kids for me.
Hey, baby, love you.
All right, and we're out.
You've been listening to the Youth Worker on Fire podcast. If you like what you hear, please subscribe and tell your friends. Also, leave a comment and tell us what you think. Stay tuned for more informative episodes.